Warning, this show contains adult language, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to another edition of Up and Knitted. I'm your host, Adrian Babashoff, and if you're new here, welcome as well. And if you're wondering if what this show is about, it's entirely dedicated to improving quality of life for both people and planet through liberation and independence, moving you from surviving to thriving, and living life on your own terms. Please excuse the background noise. That's my mobile studio, my F-350 pickup truck. But I want to get back into what we're talking about today is episode 231, and this is Homestead Realities and Opportunities. I got a lot. I think there's a huge back to the land movement. A lot of people interested, and I think that you should, because there's a lot of good stuff. But you know what? A lot of people are in love with the idea, but not the realities. And I want to talk about some of the things that you might want to think about before you go into something like this, and why there's going to be opportunities because people aren't thinking this way. So let's go into the first one. Think about those who came before you. So anything that I've ever done, I've always checked out on YouTube to see, was somebody doing these kind of things already? What's their experiences? In my research of 100% living off the land, I was raised living off the land, by the way. I grew up in South America. Basically, we used the land to provide probably about 90% of everything we had. Even our income, it was off dairy farming. So I mean, we butchered animals, raised our own food, rendered fat, and did yogurts and all sausage curing and stuff like that. So I do have some experience, but that was long, long ago. But I started studying about people before me who tried to live off the land and did like homestead style. And what I found was that it's doable. It's very doable. But as you get older, your back starts hurting. You know, a lot of people have like they want to socialize with people. They live way out in the middle of nowhere, and it's not very conducive for them. So what I found, and it just kind of coincides with the different part of my research, was about community living. You know, eco-villages, intentional communities where a bunch of people live together doing this stuff with help. And basically what I found was some of the older folks, what they said was that it was a lot easier to just sell their place off and go to a place where everybody was working together, because it was very difficult for them to do it all alone, which makes total sense. So you got to think about the future of are you going to be able to keep these things going by yourself? It's a lot of work, and I think there's a lot of things that could slip by you, and I see a lot of people who are just going to invest in this thing regardless and find out the hard way. So it may be to where you might want to join a community, or maybe you want to do it yourself. If you are going to do it yourself, I think we have in here some automation, which we're going to talk about. So let's move forward to doing it yourself considerations. Let's talk about animals and how you're basically even growing your vegetables, how you're married to the farm. So this means that a lot of time that you would spend on your homestead would mean that you're stuck there. You're not even able to leave for a night. So if you went to go visit family or something like that, you got chickens, you got goats, you got sheep, you got cows, even your vegetable garden. I think a vegetable garden you can get away with by leaving for, even a couple days, if you kind of do it the way I do it, where you're using automation, where you have drip irrigation and all those kind of things going on timers, and you don't really need to really be there. But even with animals, there's electric chicken doors that will close at certain times. You can set up yourself a surveillance camera. You can check on your phone. You can even program stuff from your phone, like irrigation, and actually get yourself a rod and put it in your garden. And I mean, that's kind of hard to do everywhere, but it will tell you if the soil's getting dry. So yeah, you got to take consideration. If you're going to be raising your own food and living off the land, you're pretty much married to it. And unless you got somebody over there to babysit, it ain't going to happen. Now, a word I have on here is bartering. So we talked about how, you start getting older and there's so many things that you have to take care of. It turns out that if you're raising a lot of your own food and doing a lot of your own things, there are other people doing that, but they're not necessarily doing it the same thing that you're doing. They may have a ton of eggplant. They may have tons of tomatoes. You got tons of zucchini and different things, fruit trees that you don't have, meats. Some people will raise cows, and you'll learn that it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work to actually process a cow as well. So you may find that you can barter a lot of vegetables and things like that, or things that other people don't have, instead of trying to do everything yourself. Now this is very precarious in my book, because if I was relying on the meats and everything like that, and say the people got older and died, or somebody came up with cancer, or they just decided I didn't want to do this anymore and they moved, there goes my supply if you're really depending on it. So I would definitely recommend, I mean, there's so much area to cover here. I just try to pick some of the best ones that I can think of. But yeah, you want to make sure that you're able to maybe get delivery. And if you're too rural, do they even deliver like meats what is it? I don't know, these packaging companies. There's places that'll bottle up or put in styrofoam, you know, dry ice and stuff like that, and send you frozen fish and chicken and beef and pork and all that stuff to your doorstep. So, but are you making the income to be able to get things like that? So things to take in consideration. Let's look at how much land per person. I thought that this is a lot of research that I've done, and out of the most of them that I found, it seems like the most comfortable number or quantity of land is an acre per person. Now, this can go all over the place, because are you vegetarian, vegan? You know, are you raising animals? And here's another thing. We're on our second one. Are you keeping enough land for your for insects, for nature? So you got to think that all living things, including nature, the bugs and things like that, everybody needs a space. So you can't just quantify something for yourself. But I would say safely, a 1 acre piece of land, you can probably do rabbits and chicken and quails and stuff like that, and then do mostly vegetables and fruit trees and things like that nature. Now, if you're practicing natural farming techniques, you're probably already leaving habitat for the lizards and snakes and grasshoppers and ladybugs and things like that to balance everything out, right? A lot of people don't know about this. Well, basically, we said about an acre per person. So, you know, if you got 5 people, you're pretty much going to want about 5 acres of land, give or take, to play it safe. We're not even talking about growing your own lumber and things like that for firewood. So a lot of things, like I said, so many things can go on here. But I want to talk about a woman who had a bunch of monarch butterflies at her house. It was a client of mine, and I was doing some construction work, and she asked me, please don't even turn over a leaf, just leave it alone, I'll take care of it, that my butterflies are in there. And basically what she taught me, I didn't know, is that if you just leave the foliage and leaves and everything and let it just collect into compost, you know, let it just get wild and undisturbed, she says she gets like hundreds, if not thousands, of butterflies will all hatch and come out of those bushes. So that tells you that a certain amount of things you're doing, which doesn't really work with natural gardening, I think, and farming in my book, because you're going to go harvest, you know, even if you have berries and stuff, you're disturbing some areas. Maybe leave some places completely feral in your land so that ladybugs and stuff like that have a place to actually winter over and stuff like that, right? There's a lot of things that we don't know, is what is the habitat needed for these things. And most nature, pretty much I can look at is just a no-brainer. Just leave it the fuck alone, right? Don't start manipulating. Just let it just turn into a big, giant, crazy, wild mess. And that's where a lot of the insects and stuff are going to come to actually help you, like the ladybugs to eat the aphids and many other things, the predators, you know, the praying mantises. So yeah, make sure you've got enough room for livestock. If you're going to raise chickens and things like that, you're going to pasture raise them, you might want to think about an acre is probably not enough. You're going to need to move them around in sections. Chickens will literally rape an area of land of insects, seeds, and plants. I mean, they'll dig. They call them dinos for a reason. So you might want to consider, you know, if you're going to put them in cages, they're going to be living in their own shit and piss. It's going to stink. Even a chicken coop. That's why I'm pretty much a proponent, an advocate of chicken tractors, where it's a chicken coop, but it moves around all kinds of different areas. So I think practice makes perfect. Guys, go spin farm like I do. Try this on somebody else's land. There's plenty of people like where I live who've got like 2-3 acres of pure land just sitting there doing nothing, right? Let's move forward here to who's going to pay for it. That's my biggest one. If you're going to homestead, unless you're retired and you know, you've got plenty of money, you know, you might want to think about inflation, right? And there's a lot of things, infrastructure. We talked about automation. Now, it's not like full blown like we got robots, like it's, you know, the Amazon warehouse or something like that. But when I say automation, it's when we're going to have things like gas-powered wood chippers, gas-powered or electric-powered log splitters, a tractor to mow the grass down if you don't have the animals to do that, and the energy. It's, guys, I mean, I just remember when I was a kid being so tired that when I passed out basically before my head hit the pillow. Even an acre of land, there's plenty of space on your 1 acre that you won't see for a long time. You go to something like 5 acres, which I rented And I used to walk the perimeter almost every morning to get my cardio, and I did that so I can kind of check on things. But there was places where I wouldn't see for like a month. This is in permaculture what you call zone. Zone 0 would be like your house. Zone 1 would be everything around your house, right? That's where you want to put your herbs and spices and stuff like that, basically things that you're cooking. You want your garden as close to your back door, your kitchen door as possible, so you can just go out. You forgot, to pick some, I don't know, some rosemary or some marjoram or thyme or something. You can just go right out the door, whack, grab it, put it in. This makes use of your space too. You're always able to see it because you're walking back and forth from your garden, whatever you're doing, you always have to pass it so you can see what the condition is. Whereas some places you won't see anything, and next thing you know, you have an infestation of something happening and it's out of control. So we have like zone 0, zone 1, zone 2. As you get further, there's places like, say, you would chop a tree down and you need, like eucalyptus, and you need to let it sit for 6 months. You don't need that in zone 2 or 3. It's going to be in your way, most likely. I don't know what your situation is, but the furthest zone you have would probably be a good place to stick this firewood and let it just store up there, let it dry up, right? So things that you don't have to go and see. Damn, I can go all over the place. Or you can stack your wood right next to your garden so all the lizards can come and hibernate in it, over the winter. And it creates a home for them, and it's got insulation. So, yeah, who's going to pay for it? All of this automation and stuff, chainsaws and, just garden shovels and solar power and stuff like that. You've got to make sure that you have an income or the money saved up to actually upkeep these things too, the infrastructure. If you've got a small little tractor or something, or ATV, or, a tilther, electric tilther, these things are going to break down one day and you're going to need to replace them. So make sure you have the money to keep it up. And I definitely would recommend that you use as much machinery as possible, because who wants to work 7 days a week? You're going to work your ass off, even on 1 acre. You will work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, doing stuff by hand, and still not get everything done. Just weeding alone takes out hours and hours of doing stuff. So anything you can automate. But unfortunately, this costs money. I would rather spend the money, make myself some sort of residual income, which I'm working on, which you can turn what you're doing, sell your produce if you have a big enough piece of land, more than an acre. You use the acre to feed yourself and the second acre to actually go sell your produce, right? Or barter, as we said. But I would rather use this automation to get things done. Yes, it's loud with the gas-powered motors or electric. I got like an electric mixer. Cement mixer is what I use to mix my soils for my container gardening. And it's loud. It's obnoxious. But you know what? I'm able to get everything done in a day. And guess what? I'm sipping on a margarita sitting on my porch in the evening instead of out there mixing soil for hours and hours on end. Right? I could do the job of... My machines probably replace, I'd say, at least 5 people. At least. My automation, easily, all of the things that I've got set up for my irrigation and the way I do things has completely replaced people. That means I don't have to have anybody if I don't want to, or I can't find anybody, or I could do it all by myself. Next, I want to talk about the predictable unpredictability. Now, if you're depending on this, that's why I look at an acre as probably the minimum. We have such things as droughts. Depending on where you live, we could have earthquakes, hurricanes, all kinds of different things. A flood. Make sure your land is kind of gently sloped. That's not the bottom of an area where it's going to get saturated and soaked under a deluge of rain. Go back and look at the weather almanacs. There's been crazy things where, like, California, I think, got hit. I can't remember what it was, like 30 inches. I can't remember. It was something ridiculous. It got flooded. And that's why people who build dams, say in like Texas, will look at things like this. What was the worst case scenario? There was one time where they got 30 inches of rain in a day, something like that. If you're building a dam, a water reservoir, you better damn well make sure, make sure that that thing's not going to overflow and break, that it can handle all that pressure. So same thing with your farm. Go look at your almanac, and what you're going to find is there's times where there was this complete drought and that things needed to be watered, and everything's unpredictable. This year I've got a crazy amount of aphids. They're all over. Southern California's at my dad's that lives like 80 miles away. All the roses infested with aphids. There's just certain years that they're years of that insect or that fungus or that drought or whatever it is. Nature likes to just come in and slap you in the balls or in the face and just say, you know what? I run the show here, son, and guess what? I'm taking half your crop with me. No, she's not coming. It's just the way things go. But it's totally unpredictable. So you better demo, make sure that whatever you think you need, you should at least, I would say, double it, man. And you can use that extra stuff that you can't eat. You can dehydrate. Like one things I look at is like the moringa tree is awesome. Tree of life. Got every vitamin, mineral, sustain any living thing on the planet. Maybe not every living thing, but the majority of things. You can literally eat the stuff green. You can mix it into a powder. So say you have a whole bunch of it. You can dehydrate it, make it into a powder, turn it into a tea, all kinds of different things. You can press it for oil. You can save the seeds, things like that. But you can process foods and you can actually use it as storage. Then you can, as like canned foods or powder stuff, as I say. Even you can pickle meat, you can pickle fish, chicken, jar it all up. Doesn't need refrigeration. Use this as barter power or to sell stuff, or just get yourself a pantry that's completely stocked for that time when you're planting. And say you had a horrible fall or summer, and you were depending on this stuff for winter. Well, this winter, guess what? You're going to go off your pantry. You're going to live off canned asparagus and tomatoes and chickens and fish and stuff like that. So, guys, that's the show. I hope that I open your guys up, to your minds up to a lot of different possibilities where, some realities where a lot of this stuff isn't possible. I need to finish up, though, before we finish up completely here. I forgot to put in my notes here is the opportunities. Now, we have a lot of people going in and buying up land and thinking that they want to do this stuff. I just had a client of mine that said they want to sell their house. They're tired of the upkeep. They had to cut down a tree, rake the yard, fix the irrigation. They're like, we're just going to go buy a townhouse, a condo, and live in that. And all they live on is 1/10 of an acre. It's hardly anything. Most people, in my observation, even living in rural Oregon or up in the mountains, Mount Baldy, here in Southern California, when I'd walk at night or when the snow and the rain or just in the wintertime when it was a beautiful day, most people are in their houses. They don't want to work. A lot of people are so preoccupied of having to make the dollar and live beyond their means and not act their wage or act below their wage that I think this is going to present an opportunity because we have a lot of people going and buying up this land. Next thing you know, they're going to say, you know what, I didn't know it was this much work. I want out. I want to go back to the city, and that's where we can come in and buy this stuff or do what I do. You can't afford to buy the land? Go on those people who have those 1 acre, 2 acre, half acre plots, whatever, just say, look, I know this is trouble for you, but I'll weed eat. I will maintain this whole half acre for you if you allow me to pay the water and grow my own food, and I'll actually give you some food off of my garden too. So there's always opportunities, guys. Always seek the openings. Fuck all this negativity and all this bullshit. You got to start rewiring your mind to start thinking in this way. And guys, that's the show. Like it if you like it. Fuck it if you don't. Leave me a comment, upandinitshow@gmail.com. Guys, message me. Give me a review. If you guys want the show to keep going on, help me out, man. Give me some ratings. Give me some reviews. Tell people about it. Everything's in the descriptions below. You like it, it's Up and In It. You can find it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and anywhere where they got podcasts. And also, well, like I like to close, go out there and have yourself a near life experience, my friends. Don't lose your muchness. Carry on the fire. Human up. Live it, love it, own it. And bone it, my friends.